Is it summer yet?
No, keep your shirt on.
I was about to say, I think both me and our listeners really miss shirtless summer.
I don't think that's true. I don't think anyone misses that.
Oh man, just a few months away. We're so close.
I don't know.
I mean, we just got to get over this February hump, and then it'll be summer.
I mean, it was 70 degrees outside today.
Oh man, I just love it. I love it.
February in Texas.
Mm-hmm. I hate the cold. Just more and more every year. I just hate it more. I'm like, get rid of this winter. It's been winter for a whole month. Ugh.
Yeah.
It's exhausting.
40 degrees. Terrible.
Yeah. Terrible. It's just so cold. Ugh, man.
How could anyone survive temperatures like that?
I honestly don't understand it.
Yep.
Like, people settled like north of the Mason-Dixon.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't, for a long time.
Yep.
They were like, this is good. We're happy with this.
Yep.
I don't get it.
Ongoing, actually. I think there's still people there.
Oh, man, I'm not going to go check.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Staying down here.
No, it's just it's not like they had heat. I mean, they had fires and stuff.
It's not like they had heat.
I mean, yeah, they're like wrapped up in all these clothes. I mean, it's less than 50 degrees for most of the year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How does that work? I
don't know. It's unfathomable.
They all got thick blood or something. And molasses. I guess that's Canada, like molasses pumping through their veins.
Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Canada with their strategic maple syrup reserve. They're ready for this.
Yeah, for sure. It's too cold. I hate it.
Yeah.
Ugh. But man, it's just like March 1st. Like we're good to go.
Well, we're almost there.
Yeah,
We don't have long to wait.
We're so close.
X100 V Mark II and summer.
Yep, man. It's like, I feel like whenever you get to like the end of November or the beginning of November, and it's like the time changes, and then everything gets dark, and then things just get worse and worse and worse until December 21st. And then they start getting longer after that, and you're like, okay, it won't be too much longer. You get to the end of January, and then it's like light at the end of the tunnel. You got like one more month to go, and you're through it. Like we're on the way up. It's all down, up, down from here.
Welcome back to the Camera Gear Podcast. I'm Daniel.
And I'm Lucas.
And we're here today to talk about the gear, software, and techniques we use to shoot photos and video.
You did it again, Daniel. I actually have a pre-show topic on here.
Oh, I saw.
And then you played the pre-show. And so now we're going to have to play the other intro after this to actually get us going.
Right. Yep.
And for like it's almost been like a whole week, I'm taking a break from CarPlay.
Y'all are going through a rough patch?
It just doesn't seem to work for me anymore.
Like this is a recent change. Like it actually seems worse in some way?
It seems like it's getting worse. It's probably my cable. I don't know. But I feel like when I was on Android, Android Auto was fine. But like it would break every so often. Like you go to play music and it comes through the vocal channel and it's like the phone call channel instead of the stereo channel, or like you have to unplug it and flip the cable over and plug it back in, or it just didn't connect to Bluetooth or whatever. It could, buggy, things like that. And I was like, man, when I switch to this reliable operating system by Apple, I'm not going to have any of these problems. CarPlay's just as bad. Like they're both terrible.
Yeah.
But for some reason, like just worse. I swear, like 1 out of 5 times when I plug in my phone, I unplug it, plug it back in.
Seems like maybe you should try a different cable because, I mean, I don't use my CarPlay as much as you do, but I don't have those problems.
Yeah, it's just getting worse. And I got fed up with it, and I was like, that's it. I'm done.
So
no more.
Are you going back to like a GPS unit?
No, I've unplugged it. I stuck the cable in my console, and I've just been connecting via Bluetooth.
Nice. How's that feel?
I know how to get places.
You like it?
I mean, it's a simpler life.
Yeah, you feel like you're living like early 2010s.
I feel like I know how long my battery lasts on my phone now instead of getting like a charge boost every time I drive.
Yeah, you probably do charge your phone more often.
No, I'm doing pretty good. I mean, it's been all day. I'm at 70%.
Hey, that's pretty good.
And that's, I took it off the charger 13 hours ago.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Just saying.
Yep.
I guess I just don't use my phone.
Yeah, that's kind of what it sounds like. You're too much of an iPad power user.
That's what it is. I'm just power using all the time. I mean, my iPod literally plugged in right now because it was at 10%.
Yep.
Charged that like barely a day ago. Mm-hmm. Just been power using all over the place. Anyway, now you can play the other intro. Do you just want to play the same one twice, or what should we do?
Just go around for another lap.
Okay, all right. I know that we don't make corrections because we're never wrong.
Mm-hmm. But if we were wrong,
I just, this one felt warranted, just to, maybe clear the air. And I'm really worried about all the emails we're going to get. And it's for the episode that came out today.
Hey, we've gotten emails in the past week about the show. So
okay. So I know this is probably too late because they're going to have heard it, and they've already written their emails, and like this is like weeks later, right? Yeah. But anyway, I know that a logarithmic function is the inverse of an exponential function. And I know that I said that it was like, I said exponential function when I meant logarithmic when talking about sound pressure. And I just want everyone to know that I know. Stop it. It's just a slip of the tongue.
Well, I'll make sure I forward all those emails to you so that you can deal with the fallout from your mistake.
Yeah, I just really wanted to clear the air there.
All right.
It's very important to me.
What's next?
Everything else I said, no apologies. Don't take any of it back. Okay. I want to talk about film a little more.
Here we go again. Every week.
All right. So I was watching film YouTube, and not that like. So there's YouTube about film, which I do watch that part of YouTube, where they're like, let's get real deep on this film by blah 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 blah. And
so you mean like cinema?
Sure, yeah, and like they really start like breaking down like James Wan films or something.
Oh yeah, you're totally down with stuff like that.
Oh yeah, I watched that part, but that's not what I'm talking about.
Okay,
I'm talking about the other thing where people will go out and they'll take pictures on film, and they'll talk about the film stock.
Yeah.
And the formula for this video is exactly the same for every YouTuber I found, which is talk a little bit about the film stock and then do some B-roll from a GoPro where they walk around and shoot. And every time they take a picture, you drop in the picture so people can see it. And you make sure they'll play lo-fi all through that whole bit. I have run across a couple of YouTubers that played like piano or jazz, and I was like, what are you doing?
They're not sticking to the format.
Not even close. I look at their subscriber counts like 300. I'm like, ugh,
yeah.
You're never going to get to 1,000 if you don't put in lo-fi.
Is 1,000 a lot of subscribers for this kind of film YouTube? I mean, I bet that's like the biggest creators have 1,000 subscribers.
At least. Thousands, probably.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Single digit thousands, but thousands nonetheless.
We're a tight community, Dan. You shut up. Anyway, this guy was talking about Harman's new film stock. Harman makes Ilford, which is a very popular black and white film, which I'm sure you know all about.
Well, you've talked about it several times, as if I know about it.
Right. Well, Harman is coming out with.
Is this like a company or a guy?
Harman
like, are you and Harman on a first name basis?
I mean, like we're okay, but it's a company.
Oh, okay. Okay.
They have this new film stock, and it's a color film stock with it's a C41 process, which is like the most common color process right now. Like most color film negative is C41.
Okay.
And I know that I said that in the worst way possible. Anyways, they are coming out with a brand new film stock, which is like, it's not unheard of. Well, we don't get new films every day anymore.
I don't get new films ever. So
sure. So like it's kind of a big deal. Like we want more companies to be investing time and money in like creating more films because we want film to stay alive. Well, some of us want film to stay alive. And Harman's new color film is obviously called Phoenix.
Yeah, obviously.
Because, like From the Ashes, right? It's good. It's real good. And it's orange. It's not actually orange. The box is orange. Actually, Well, it's not. It's purple. It's not orange. You know how whenever you shoot film and get it developed, usually the film itself has like an orangish amber tinge to it.
I think I've seen that. Yeah.
The Phoenix film is purple.
Interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting because it's a whole new film stock, Daniel. It's very cool. And so they've been like, promoting their new film stock and going to different camera stores, and they have these like giant film stock, like big, like the little cardboard things like that, but at 200%.
Oh.
And they're like, look at our film stock, and like gave out free samples to people and that sort of thing. And I watched this whole video about it, and I was like, this is cool. And he showed a bunch of pictures, and the film stock looks terrible. Like, it doesn't look terrible. It's just very, very stylized. Like, if you like Cinestill, you're going to probably like this. Because, like, almost all of the highlights halate like crazy. It's like any sort of highlight fringing, you're going to get halation. And it's, like, really, really crunchy. And then there's, like, so much noise. So much noise. And I was like, I don't know if this is my speed. I don't think this is something that I would shoot, but I want to support them. And I probably should buy some at some point. Well, I was at the camera store picking up my last set of negatives, and I like look over the person's shoulder, and lo and behold, on the table behind them was a giant Phoenix 200 speed orange box. And I was like, is that Harman Phoenix 200 stuff? And the person was like, yeah. You want some? Man. Yes, please. And so I bought some.
I feel like 6 months ago, you would not have predicted that you would have gotten to this point. I don't remember when you actually started your film journey, but it feels like you've gone pretty deep in not that much time.
I don't know, Daniel. We've well covered that this is a problem. Anyway, so it's just all very exciting. Like, if you shoot film, you should go out and get some Harman Phoenix, support the cause, support new film stocks. Maybe you'll love it, maybe you'll hate it. It's really crunchy and really grainy, but I'm super pumped about it.
I like to buy products where I don't have to support the cause, where it's not like me and the little community trying to keep it alive.
What, you just want the cause to support itself, Daniel?
Yes.
Ridiculous. There's another company. I have more film stocks to talk about.
Of course. Called
ADOX. And this company's like, we're back from 1860 whatever film, blah, blah, blah. And it's this German company. I think they like merged with somebody, and then they came out with this Color Mission 200 film, and then like the parent company or something dissolved, and ADOX then like went independent as its own company or something. I don't know the whole history, but that's the gist of it. And point is, they're working on a new film emulsion. And in order to make this new film emulsion, they're funding it by selling all this backlog of Mission 200 color film. And so they have like you can go and buy Color Mission 200 from ADOX and support their development of whatever. And they're not making any more of it. Like, if you want to shoot Color Mission, that's it. This is all there's going to be.
One-time chance.
And like, they're probably going to make more of it later whenever they get their stuff up and running again, but it's not going to be the same because it's never exactly the same once you like change machines and adjust the chemicals and this sort of thing. So they're working on a new thing, but they did release a new version of Color Mission called Color Mission Helios.
Why do these things sound like, I don't know, like Mission Impossible movies or, some sort of thing like that?
I don't know, Daniel. You just gotta have fun with it.
Everybody's trying to be real cool with these names.
What's the one? Is it called Eye Candy or something candy? Help me out here. Street candy. That's the word I'm looking for. There's a film. They make a bunch of film stocks.
Nobody should partake in street candy. That's not a good thing.
Well, the film stock's a good thing. That's also very stylized. Maybe a little too hip for me. But yeah, I mean, there's some okay named stuff. Like, you can shoot Kodak Gold.
Yeah,
or whatever.
That's more pedestrian.
It's not as exciting as like Phoenix or Color Mission 200 Helios.
Yeah.
Except it wouldn't be 200.
Like Harman Phoenix sounds like the lead character in a young adult novel.
I'd read that. I'm into it. All right. Anyways, Daniel, you don't even know where we're going with this.
No, I don't.
ADOX is coming out with a new this newish film stock, Color Mission Helios, ISO 3.
It feels like a typo.
Nope. They're promising an ISO sensitivity between it's like one nominal sensitive, like 1.5 to 3.
So does that mean that there's no noise? Or does it just mean that you need all the light in the world to take a picture?
You need so much light. But what it's for is you can shoot super long exposures so that there's nothing in your exposure. Like if you want to shoot a landscape or something of like a city and you're at ISO 1, it's like, well, here goes my 20-second exposure or whatever at f4 or f2.8 in order to like get enough light. They say that you can shoot at reasonable shutter speeds, like 1/125, 1/250, if you have a really fast lens, like a 1.4, 1.8 lens, with this ISO, and like the grain is super, 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 super fine.
This sounds really niche.
It's like niche on niche. For one, it's like, okay, we're looking for someone who wants to do really long exposures on film.
Which there can't be that much of.
And then also want to do it on film.
So is this they're working on this. When is this coming out?
Next season.
Which season? What's the film season? Is this like baseball where it's most of the year, or is it just, like the, I don't know, like the migration season of the, whatever kind of bird, like where it's 3 weeks long? I mean, when is the season? What does that mean?
Like, I know. Come on. I don't. Who knows? Just like right now.
It's going to come out in one of the 4 seasons of the year.
Right now, we're in the worst season, winter. And soon, we will be in the best season.
Yes, when the
summer.
Fuji X Summit happens.
Wait, no. We all know that summer 1 starts at the beginning of March. And I think that's what they're talking about.
We'll see.
Yep. Is there any more film things we need to talk about? We should talk about film scanning.
I thought I almost had you pass this topic. Here we go.
The person who was going to send me a film scanner just forgot.
Yep. Hasn't happened.
I don't want to pester them.
I feel like
because they did offer me a free scanner.
A reminder would probably be appropriate.
Okay, maybe I'll text them and just kind of be like, "Hey, by the way, just checking before I go and buy one of these on eBay."
I don't see why not.
Okay,
swallow your pride.
I just don't want to bug them about it.
Well, I didn't say text them every day, but one time's not that bad.
Okay, I will send one reminder.
One reminder, courtesy reminder,
before I spend $350.
Yeah,
it's just so frustrating because I bought that scanner. I bought that scanner for my hand in 2018, and it cost me like a couple $100. She paid me back. It was like $200. Now they're $350. It's ridiculous.
You should have bought a whole pallet of
That's
them.
what I'm saying. I should have just bought 2.
Yep.
Anyway, point is, maybe that's coming, maybe it's not. And so in the meantime, I was like, maybe I'll try taking some macro shots of some of my negatives, because I'm like this close to finishing a roll, and I'm going to develop one myself for the first time. And I want to be able to scan them, and I'm not going to have the scanner by then. I was like, well, I should start figuring out how to at least take pictures of them so I can, start working through the how to process the negatives and find the right app so that whenever I do have the scanner, I'm all set.
Yeah. Well, from what I saw of your experiments, it seems like you've got some additional experimentation that you need to undertake.
Oh yeah, I'm not there. What I learned was that I thought it was as simple as, okay, here's a light. I'll set the film on the light, and then I'll shoot a picture of it. And we're groovy.
Yeah, just as easy as that.
No, it's just not. One, I didn't realize that the texture of whatever surface you have under the light was going to show up so egregiously on the film.
So what did you set it on in this test?
I had to have it's aperture, right? They make those little color. I don't have a color one, but the square lights. What are those called?
You have the M9.
Yes.
Like the Aperture MC, like that style.
Yes, Aperture MC, but the M9. And so I have one of those, and that's what I was using. Then that didn't work. And so then I have this one of those newer panel lights. And so I tried that, and that worked better, but not the same. And so I held it by hand above the surface to create a distance, and that was the best.
Oh man, that sounds awful.
Well, like
trying to keep it in focus. And
I'm experimenting before I like develop a solution.
Develop a solution.
Yep.
Like both of those are puns because you use solutions of chemicals to do developing. Yes. I see what you did there.
Can you go ahead and end the show? Just go ahead and play. Where are we at? Anyway, so every time I come up with an idea, I'll go onto the internet to be like, has someone else done this idea? And then I'll find someone else with the idea. And in this case, it was a Petapixel article from like this week. And I was like, no, I had this idea first. And I was going to talk about it first, but now everyone's going to think that I'm copying them.
Yep.
I'm not copying them, Daniel. I had this idea first because I was sitting on my couch looking at a shoebox. And I was like, what if I built a scanning device out of that shoebox? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to like make a like cover in white all inside the box to make like a refractory bouncy situation for the light. And then I'm going to cut a hole for the film for the light to come up through. And then I'm going to build like an alignment so I can set the film over the hole perfectly in the exact same spot every time.
Sure.
And then I'll configure that over with the tripod over top. And that's my plan. It's going to go great.
Sounds really janky, but I guess we'll see.
If it works, it works. But the other problem is, boy, I didn't know that like, I know that you have to invert the colors. It's not that easy. You have to like fix the white balance and all this stuff.
I imagine there's like, would that be repeatable from shot to shot?
Sure.
Like there's like
yeah.
Like you figure out that transform, and then I imagine you wouldn't have to like tweak that every time.
I could probably do a Lightroom preset. There are applications that are specifically for this. I found a couple iPad apps that will just do it. And then they have like all the magenta yellow filter stuff that you can kind of like move the sliders and make it work.
That seems worth it.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know, $360 a year or something for this app. It's like $5 a month or something.
Wait, so what you say 360? Like, what do you mean by that? Like,
I mean by dollars.
That's a lot of money for an app.
Yeah,
that's more than I expected.
It's pushing it.
Yeah, that's like you could buy a scanner every year.
Yeah, but like I still have to have the software to scan it. Anyways, so I'm figuring it out. I'm looking for the best options.
Yeah.
And then I'll tell you what the best options are by force because I know you don't want to hear it.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'm stuck here though.
I'm just gonna tell you what they are.
Yep.
So, anyways, I'm working through all of this, and I wanted to.
Yeah, you got to get that going because I mean, you've been talking about doing this developing, and you bought a bunch of the stuff for it, and soon, I mean, at some point, you're going to finish a roll of film, right? And I assume you want to develop it, but not much point if you don't have a way to scan it.
That's why I'm figuring this out, Daniel. Jeez, golly.
When you leave here, you better go figure that out.
So much pressure. Oh boy, I got to finish that. Then I have so after I shoot that roll, I have some like Kodak Ultramax, and it has Ektar 100.
You've got a backlog of film
and
now.
I got the Phoenix 200, and then I think I have that roll of Superior 400 that I found in my dad's camera bag from 2006. I got a lot of cool stuff to shoot through, but I need to like figure out how to develop it, or else I'm going to ruin those rolls.
Do you think that once you get this developing thing figured out, do you think that'll increase your speed of shooting film? Like when you know you can develop it cheaper and faster? I still need like things to shoot. I think one of the things that's holding me back is I'm still learning how to use that Himatic, and I haven't put myself in enough situations to take more candid photos. Nah, that's fair. You have to work on that.
But I think that once I have confidence in shooting with that camera and knowing that I'm going to get things in focus, then I think I'll probably end up shooting more film, especially whenever I know how to develop it and scan it in a reasonably quick way.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I do think that if I get through this roll and all of them are still out of focus, I'm probably going to shelf that camera. Yeah,
I mean, if you just can't take shots that are in focus, then it's kind of hard to get value out of the camera.
And then I'm gonna go look for like a cheap, I think probably a Canonet, because those have faster apertures, and they're relatively small. And then I'll just zone focus. Anyway, lots to do on the film front, Daniel.
Apparently.
Okay, all right. Let's talk about something else.
I feel like the next thing is still film related, though. Like you're trying to play it off like it's not, but I feel like it's still film related.
Okay. Do you remember that Kodak announced the Super 8 camera?
I didn't remember it because I mean I've seen something about it in the past 6 months, but they've apparently had this thing in development for a really long time.
Oh yeah, really long time.
And I mean, I hadn't been tracking it back then, but now it seems like it's almost here.
Yeah, I mean, like you can sign up to buy it, and it's going to cost. It's like it's on B&H's website for this is a thing that's going to exist.
Yeah,
and it's like whatever, like $6,000 or something, like $5,800. It's crazy expensive.
Yeah. But the price seems ridiculous to me.
It's slowly coming. It should be here soonish. But the thing that's important is that there is a video out about this camera.
Yeah,
it is in the hands of people, and those people work for B&H.
Yes, and it's like a 5 or 6 minute video, and they kind of go through how it works, what it does.
Yeah, and like one of the things that I've been dying to know about this camera is how does it have a digital screen to frame all your video stuff when it's a film camera?
Because basically, this is a film camera that shoots Super 8 film, but it also has a screen that you can use to set your settings, like your frame rate and stuff, and then like also a viewfinder, which is odd.
Right, and so do you know how a normal film camera accomplishes being able to see through the lens?
I know it uses a mirror, or I guess DSLRs use a mirror. I don't know what film cameras do.
It's very similar to our conversation about 3D with the that mirrored. It's not a diopter. It's a prism, like that mirror prism thing, where like there's a plane, like a plane shutter looks like a disc with a pizza slice cut out of it, and it spins around, and then like however long that opening is across the film face is your exposure time.
Sure.
And like 180 degrees, whatever, and all that shutter speed stuff. Basically, they take that disc, rotate it 45 degrees, and put a mirror on one side. And then you look down into it so that whenever it is not exposing, you're seeing a mirror through the mirror. And whenever it is exposing, you're not. So like you get a little bit of that flicker, but you can see what you're shooting.
Sure.
And from what I understand, they're basically doing the same thing here, but with a digital sensor instead of like an optical viewfinder.
Yeah, that's kind of what I saw too. It seemed like the thing I read phrased it as they have a CMOS camera inside the camera.
Right.
That basically looks at what's coming through the lens. And so what's interesting too is that you can actually use that viewfinder when you don't have film in the camera. And so you can use it either when you do or do not have film. So you can use it to like test out shots and like frame stuff up, and then you can also use it when you're actually filming.
I don't necessarily know who this camera's going to be for because it just seems crazy expensive.
Yeah, I mean that the price just seems like it kills it. Like I get that there's some sort of hipster appeal to shooting on film, but I have to imagine you can buy a Super 8 camera for less than this, right? Like if you got on eBay, can you just buy a Super 8 camera for less than $6,000?
I mean, I'm sure you can. I would be shocked if you couldn't.
And so it just seems like if what you're going for is the hipster whatever aspect of it, then I would think you would want like the authentic older thing anyway. And if what you want instead is modern features, then why wouldn't you be shooting on a digital camera? Because the
aesthetic, I don't know.
Because the other part of this is that it's like $5,500 or something, but that doesn't count the cost of the film and the cost to process the film.
Well, that's what I'm bringing up here is like, you can go buy some like Vision 3 Kodak film, and for this specifically, this product, they're going to sell like these canisters of film that you specifically buy, you slot it in, and then you in the menu you select like, oh, I bought Vision 3 or whatever, and then it'll automatically set the ISO and everything for you based upon that film stock, because you have to buy these specific stocks, and you don't have to like roll it or anything yourself. It's all kind of like built in, and so you don't have to worry about accidentally exposing the roll or anything. It's just like when it finishes, it stays inside the thing, and then you can send it out, get it developed. But like right now, if you bought like 50 feet of Super 8 film, it's going to cost you $40, and I think that if you're shooting at 24 frames per second, you're looking at like a minute of footage is like 20 feet.
I think what I saw when I was reading about this camera was that, one cartridge that was 50 feet was going to get you about 3 minutes of filming.
Yeah, that sounds about right. That plus development costs. So call it $60, $70 to shoot
for 3 minutes.
3 minutes of footage.
Yeah, I just don't understand who's going to buy this thing.
It's so expensive.
Yeah. It also has a micro SD card because it can record audio.
Right. Well, that's the other thing is normally when you're shooting on film, part of the film is set aside for the audio track. And so what this does is it just records it to micro SD, and then it allows you to use more of the space on the Super 8 film for the video. And so you can actually shoot 16:9, which is not a traditional format for Super 8.
Interesting. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Even stranger.
And then you have to sync it in post.
Yeah.
Like somehow.
I don't know. That seems like the least of your problems if you get this camera. like you're already having to send off film to be processed. I think you can handle, clicking around in Resolve for a few moments to sync audio.
I guess that's reasonable.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about this existing, and I'm happy that Kodak's making cameras. I just wish they would make like non-niche cameras. It feels like they might have this super expensive Super 8 thing that I have no idea who it's for. Like if you're gonna shoot film to like make a movie, it feels like you have a budget.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like you're doing something where like maybe I'm going to shoot 16mm or something. Or are we going to see stuff at like, I don't know, Sundance and ICANN that are shot in 8mm?
Yeah. I did see somebody say that they thought if they had made this a Super 16 camera, maybe it would make more sense.
Oh yeah,
which I assume
sure.
is 16mm.
Plenty of stuff nowadays is shot on 16mm.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever see that How to Blow Up a Pipeline movie?
No.
That was shot on 16mm. Looks grainy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like I'm getting better at pegging those like whenever things are shot on film.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'll be watching a movie and go, was it shot on film? And I have to look it up.
Mm-hmm.
There's one recently where I got it wrong, but usually I'm right, especially when it's 16mm because it is super obvious. Anyway, point is, I don't get it. I just don't get it. Like, oh, I want to shoot. I'll shoot 3 minutes of footage just goofing off.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you have to be really disciplined and really know what you're doing to make that amount of footage work for you. And I don't know. It's just a strange positioning for that camera.
Yeah.
All that to say, somebody emailed us this week and was like, you guys should get this and link to this camera. Probably not going to happen.
You don't think so?
I think I'd rather have a Canon C70.
Yeah, I could see that. A Canon C70 would be really fun.
Yeah. About the same price.
Yeah, they are.
That's why I use that comparison. It's like,
yep.
About the same price. And that's rather what I have.
Anyway, I'm still excited they're doing it. It's just they have this. They have those like H50 cameras, the half frame ones, and they have like underwater tough cameras.
Yeah, it's like they're making everything except a normal camera.
Yeah, I'm like Kodak. You make make a freaking SLR. Come on, like just. Do make like a little fixed lens small film camera.
Yeah, just like exactly what you want, basically.
It would sell like hotcakes.
Yeah.
If you like something with like super basic autofocus with like a 2.8 40mm lens, just like they used to. Like make one of those, sell it for $450. Boy. Oh yeah. Boy.
I don't know why they're avoiding that.
I don't know. Maybe they don't think that they would like. Maybe it's development costs. Maybe they think that they can't make enough.
Yeah,
they're making everything else.
Hard to say.
Very strange.
You said development cost again.
Because development.
Yeah.
I mean, like you know what? Never mind. Not like the film development. Just let's talk about something else.
Can we get out of film world now?
Yeah, I mean that's at least half the episode.
Oh my gosh,
It's just getting worse.
It has been half the episode. All right, let's talk about something more modern.
Okay, so we keep alluding to this Fuji event coming up.
Yep. February 20th. Mark your calendars.
We've been avoiding like going over the rumors of what's going to be in it because it's obviously just going to be the X100 thing.
Yep. They're not even going to say anything about it. They're just going to show us, and then they'll have a pre-order link. And that'll be it.
And then I put on here that I wanted to complain about Fujifilm and the upcoming event.
Mm-hmm. Can't wait to hear this.
And I don't really have anything specific to complain about except for I just really, really want to see firmware updates. And whenever I wrote this on here, which reminds me that the main point of this subject on our list is a PSA. And that is if you have a 16 to 55mm XF lens and you update it to the most recent firmware that came out like 3 weeks ago, like at the end of January, oh boy, you're in trouble.
Well, fortunately, they have already come out with a fixed version.
Yes. So if emergency update to the newest fix or don't update.
Yep.
Is that the device?
I think so.
Yeah, they pulled that thing.
Yeah.
It was it was a really important update because some lenses, specifically the 16 to 55 2.8, people have been complaining that when you zoom in and out, the exposure changes.
Mm-hmm. And I've seen people show examples of that.
It's a real problem, and it's been a problem for like 18 months, like ever since the XH2S came out, which was June 2021.
Yep.
2022. Anyway, like years of this problem. They finally fix it, and then they fix it wrong. Just
come on, guys.
Just frustrating.
Yeah. So I think in the fixed version, did it roll that back, or did they fix it the right way?
I do not know. I was unaware that they actually had rolled out a fixed version. I knew that they were going to soon, and that they had pulled the update.
Yeah, no, they did come out with a new version, but I didn't actually look to see how how they resolved the problem situation. But there is a newer version now. So I think the bad one was like version 1.3, and now they have a 1.3.1.
It feels like Fuji is just behind.
Yeah,
like I know that development costs are expensive, and you don't want to have to keep like doing software for hardware products you've already created, and like you're not selling the software updates or anything. But it's just, I don't know. The XH2S is still their leading camera, and it's like there's features that are in the newer cameras that like don't make sense to be in those cameras, but they aren't in the XH2S, and it's frustrating.
I mean, it seems like lately the main thing they've come out with is the GFX100, the Deuce.
Right.
And besides that, yeah, it's like, what are they doing with firmware updates? We haven't seen the X100 successor. Like, what are they doing? It doesn't make sense.
The Kaizen thing was such a big deal for a good period of time. And it used to be that, Fuji's going to, give you like real meaningful improvements on the things that you buy over time. And like, you don't necessarily buy something for what it's going to be later. But it was always kind of a nice, oh, cool, I'm going to get like the latest thing. And I was looking forward to that when I got my XT3. And that's about when they kind of stopped doing it.
It kind of felt like you were buying into a company that had a culture of, carrying their old products forward and not letting your new thing immediately go obsolete. But now it seems like they're just like every other camera company. As soon as it comes out, they forget about it, and you don't really get meaningful updates.
We're going to talk about it in a little bit, but Cine D did finally did their lab testing for the new GFX100, the second camera, where they did like their dynamic range and the rolling shutter and all this sort of thing. Checked like exposure latitude, and the conclusion was essentially the XH2S is better in every regard for video than this medium format camera.
Oh, that's embarrassing.
And like, I mean, it makes sense, right? You have a stacked APS-C sensor is just going to outperform like across the board. It's going to be better in dynamic range. It's going to be better in like rolling shutter and all this thing. And it was just so blatantly obvious that like they're trying to sell this GFX for something that it's not. And the XH2S is here as like, this is their, leading video camera. And it just still doesn't have a lot of these features.
Yeah. Stuff that seems like it should be pretty simple to add, like a vector scope. Like once you've implemented that in software, it shouldn't be that hard to put it on a different camera.
Right. Or like, time code that works. Like, let me be able to jam to or from the camera, not just over Bluetooth.
Yeah.
And I'm happy that they did roll out that UltraSync Bluetooth jamming thing. It seemed so far like the tests and the reports seem like it's medium reliable, maybe not like totally reliable, but I don't know. It's like they come up right up to the line and they just don't cross it. Like they don't make it all the way for what you need and what you want.
Yeah, it doesn't really make sense. And I mean, it seemed weird that they positioned the GFX100 as being like this premium video camera. And I remember us talking about it at the time and thinking that's kind of a bold move, and we'll see if it works out. And it is just strange because it feels like they already had that, and they want to be seen as this professional video company, but they're not willing to fully invest and fully go the extra mile to actually make it professional grade gear.
In my mind, I feel like there's a lot of weight on this next event. And I know that it's unlikely they're going to announce, all this, new updates and stuff for my 2-year-old camera or 1.5-year-old camera. And it's just unlikely. And I know that we're probably a year away from the next XH2, if not more. They're on like a 3 or 4 year cycle. But I'm hoping that, with the next X Summit, they start kind of moving more in this direction of like we know why people like Fujifilm, and we're bringing our XT5 and our XH2 and our XH2S line forward. And I don't know, I think that a lot of my opinion on Fujifilm may be shaped by like what they do at the beginning of this year.
That's a bold statement.
I don't know.
I was going to ask if, knowing what you know now, knowing the trajectory they've taken, would you still have bought the XH2S?
I mean, I think that it was the best camera at the time. I honestly still think it's one of the best hybrid video cameras you can buy. If you are looking for like what is top of the line, the thing that can do all the things, like the Z8 is up there because that can shoot 8K. It can shoot compressed raw internal. It has like decent autofocus. It's high resolution. Like it's stacked. The Z8 is an amazing hybrid camera, but so is like the A9 Mark III. Looks like it's going to be incredible with that global sensor. And like I've now mixed eras, but like there's decent ones out there, but those are like really, really expensive.
Yeah.
And you come a little farther down the line, like you have the S5 Mark II, which are both like, this is, camera of the year 2023. Anyway, but it doesn't quite meet the same spec level as XH2S. Like you don't quite have the same rolling shutter performance. You get the 14-bit readout off of the XH2S sensor, which does have like real benefit for dynamic range and color fidelity.
We've seen that.
Yeah, it looks really, really good. I like the way that the fake grain, like the noise produces off the sensor. It does look more filmy, and I like that. And you can get 6K 10-bit color like off the sensor, right?
Yeah.
If you're shooting with the S5 Mark II and you get into the open gate formats, you're getting 420.
Interesting.
You don't get 422. And so if you're looking for something that can shoot open gate 422 with a decent rolling shutter, like you're spending over $4,000 for that camera.
Yeah.
I guess no, you can't. You can't shoot open gate with R6 Mark II, can you?
I don't remember, to be honest.
I don't think you can. Basically, none of the Sonys do it. And so it's kind of like the only game in town within that budget range with its feature set. And it's just frustrating that it's like, wow, it can do all these cool things, but I can't really sync time code, and it doesn't have waveforms. Don't even ask me about shutter angle or false color.
Yeah, can't power it externally.
Yeah.
It's just like it's not quite there as a professional video camera.
Mm-hmm. But like the capabilities are really good.
Yeah. So it's like it's got good internals, and I don't know.
So I feel like I would still buy an XH2S. Like it's got good battery life. I mean, the autofocus leaves some to be desired, but most of the stuff we shoot in film is manually focused anyway. And I'm still really, really happy with it. I just feel like it could be just that much better with a few tweaks.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll see what happens. I'm also not really holding my breath for that, but they did bring the Bluetooth time code, so maybe they'll bring more stuff.
I am looking forward to actually getting into that. I've been trying to figure out more about how to actually jam time code, and it seems like really what you have to do is just figure out a way to, it's like hot potato. You gotta like pass the hot potato around the thing. And I watched a video where a guy was like, all right, I'm going to show you how to sync all these things together. And it was like, one of them was a microphone, and one of them was like the Atomos Blue, and one of them was the Atomos Ultra Sync, and one of them was a Tentacle Sync, and then he had a Deity TC1.
Oh, man. All kinds of different things.
And he's like, well, what you got to do is you got to sync this one to this one, and then you can sync this one to this one. And then once you have this one synced, you can sync this one to this one and this one, and blah, 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 blah. And now we're all time code synced.
So the guy's got like a 10-step checklist for making this work.
It was like watching somebody solve a puzzle. It was ridiculous. It was like one of those things where you have to like slide the squares to like line the thing. It was just like that.
I mean, that's not what I want to be doing when I'm setting up for a shoot. That's the problem.
But I've cracked it. If we get one of those one RF time code things that Atomos makes, that can sync to an Ultra Sync Blue, which can then sync anything that else that has Ultra Sync Blue. So once you get the Ultra Sync Blue, you can jam both XH2Ss, and then you get that one RF thing, and then that thing jams the ultrasync blue. And then once you have that one can the 1RF can do like a radio frequency jamming to things. It can jam to something, or it can be jammed itself. Like it has input, output, and radio and Bluetooth.
Because basically the problem is the ultrasync blue only connects over Bluetooth. And
right.
so if you have something that supports Bluetooth, that's great. But if you have something that you need to plug in a cable to receive or jam timecode, it doesn't give you that option. And so you need something else to do that.
Yeah.
And Atomos makes something else. They make the ultrasync 1.
Yeah, that was the thing I was talking about.
Yeah, and that one is kind of like it bridges the gap. Like it has physical connections to jam things, and it also has Bluetooth to connect to the ultrasync blue. But the problem is just the cost, right? Like the ultrasync blue is $150, which is great. It's nice and cheap. But this other thing is like $280. And so if you have like a mixed ecosystem where you have some parts of your setup that work with Bluetooth and other parts that do not work with Bluetooth, then you need both of those things to make it work. So you're having to buy an ultrasync blue and an ultrasync 1.
Right. And all this would be a lot easier if the XH2S could just take a connection to a timecode port and just like get jammed.
Because then you could just get one ultrasync 1, a single ultrasync 1,
yep.
And you would just be able to basically carry it around and briefly plug it into everything and jam all of them.
Jam. And easy, right? And then like you'll get some drift based upon like those crystals are only so good.
Mm-hmm.
The tentacle ones are supposed to be like really, really good. But the ultrasync thing can jam the tentacles, and it can jam to the TC1 or vice versa. Or if you have like one of those new Rode mics, I don't think those can get jammed, but they can jam. So you could jam, the Rode mic could jam the ultrasync 1, which would then jam your Bluetooth, which would then jam your XH2S.
Everybody's jamming.
Just jamming all over the place.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's like a Bob Marley song.
It seems to me like this ultrasync 1 is what we would need if we were going to try to jam to our Fuji cameras at any point. But it's frustrating that while this seems like the mass interconnect solution for getting a lot of these products to work together, like getting your tentacles and your TC1s working together, it's still not the complete solution.
Yeah.
Because you have to have the stupid Bluetooth puck to make it work with the XH2S.
Yeah. And I mean, I think we're probably going to end up trying this, and it'll probably work fine for what we're doing. But, in any kind of professional filming situation, I don't want to be relying on Bluetooth to do anything.
No, you want to use the radio frequency thing and have things like actually connected that you're jamming.
I want to have a wire plugged into my camera to do it. And you just can't do that with the XH2S. That's what's frustrating.
Right. I mean, that's cinema camera territory. Like once you get into that situation, I don't know how many hybrid mirrorless cameras support that, if any, barring like maybe some Lumix stuff.
I think the S1H does.
Well, of course it does.
Yeah. It does everything. Perfect camera.
Perfect camera. That one also doesn't shoot 422 10-bit.
Yeah. Well, Mark II is on its way.
Yep. It's going to shoot 8K and stack sensor.
Yep.
It's going to be everything.
Yep.
Okay. I talked a little bit about vicinity lab tests for the GFX.
Yeah.
And so I threw that on here because I thought it'd be worth talking about.
There's been so much drama around the GFX.
I know.
Because this isn't even, there was the thing before, right? What was that issue previously? Wasn't there like a...
Oh, where like in certain burst modes, it doesn't shoot 16-bit RAW.
Yeah,
but
that was for photos.
For photos, it encodes it as 16-bit or 14-bit.
That's right.
16-bit, even though it's a 14-bit
So
file.
we're not even talking about that drama.
No.
This is other drama about
or how they were like, it's a brand new sensor, and then it wasn't a brand new sensor, but it was, but it wasn't. The GFX100 II seems more and more to be like the most confusing camera to shoot video on. I know that Fuji gets a lot of flack for their video menus. I'm basically a fan of it, of how they let you kind of pick your 420, 422 or whatever, and then you can pick your frame rate, do I want to shoot in 60 or 24 or 23.97 or whatever, and then you can pick your bit rate. And everyone complains, like, why do I have to pick my bit rate? Yeah. Just tell me what the best one is.
I'm one of those people. I complain about that.
And I get that like having to optimize it is annoying, and that video screen of like setting up your modes is not obvious, poorly documented, and you're basically guessing.
Yeah. Yeah. You either have to do a lot of experimentation or just like, I hope these numbers are good.
I threw a picture of this image circle in our show notes.
Yeah, it's bonkers. I remember this whenever the camera came out, because they were trying to brag about how many different because they're saying basically like it's a big sensor and a big mount, and so you can put any lens on this thing and they'll all work. And then they have this diagram that shows you all the different aspect ratios you can shoot on the sensor, and that was the most confusing thing.
Yeah, that was like their whole thing was, this will slot in with your, ARRI 65 solutions. This will slot in with any sort of format that you're wanting to shoot because it's a medium format sensor and it's got a giant image circle. You can shoot like full frame, Super 35, large format, and like here's all these different versions of like 8K, 4K, et cetera, that fit within this thing. And it is a nightmare of compromises. And like it was cool that whenever they first started selling it, I was like, this is legitimately cool. It's like you have all the options here. It kind of reminded me of the Murano a little bit with like how kind of the different options among it, except way worse. And so even when CineD's out there doing their testing on the dynamic range, they're like, well, like we tried to test it at medium format and like that's what we did our numbers with. But even then, it's like if you shoot in 8K on this thing, it's line skipped. But there is an oversampled version of the 8K, but it's a different crop, which is different than the 4K, which is different than the oversampled 4K, which is different than the large 4K. Like it's
and probably all of those things have somewhat different performance on some of these tests, and so even just communicating the results could be really confusing.
Yeah, it's a total mess. And so they shot this in 8K with DR priority, dynamic range priority on, and dynamic range priority off, which also changes like is it line skipping or like how is it oversampling and dealing with the image. And it's like you have no idea how big your image is. Like it's
frustrating.
It seems so crazy, and it's impossible to figure out like what the ideal format is to shoot on this camera for video, because like you don't know which one's gonna look the best because they're all like weirdly compromised.
It makes it feel like the people that are designing the cameras, they're engineers and they're thinking like, what are all the options that we can provide? And like it's cool on one hand, it's cool that they're giving you access to so many different options, and maybe in some cases it feels like they're pushing the limits of what they're able to give, where it's like, well, the only way we can provide this certain crop on the sensor is by line skipping. So like we'll do that and we'll just line skip it. And fine, like it's great to have all those options, but they need to document it and they need to give you both documentation of exactly how everything works and also rules of thumb of if you want the best image quality, these are like the top settings that you can use.
Yeah, or like a default in the menu that like, well, you can have it just automatically jump over. Like I want to shoot in oversampled 4K. Okay, here it is.
Because not everybody's going to do research to see how does all this work, what do all these things do, and they're not all going to test all these things themselves either. So you need to give people a reasonable starting point.
Definitely. So with these tests, they first did rolling shutter, and when you're shooting full width of the sensor, and I think that's 8K, you're getting like a 26 millisecond rolling shutter performance, which is not bad. Like it's okay.
Yeah, it's like within range of other hybrid mirrorless cameras, right?
It's like A7 IV territory.
Yeah.
Those Sonys have such terrible rolling shutter. It's ridiculous. And then if you turn dynamic range priority off, it's 15 milliseconds.
That's pretty good.
Pretty good.
What's in the X-H2S like 3 or something still?
It's like depending on what mode you're in, it's somewhere between it's like 5.3 up to 6.
Yeah,
that kind of ththing.
But that's like APS-C stacked sensor.
It's crazy fast. Yeah. There's very few cameras that read faster than an X-H2S. You have to get into like an ARRI or a C70. Anyway, so that's rolling shutter performance. Dynamic range. It's looking like we talked about this like last week, right? Where it's like if you have a 14-bit sensor or a 12-bit sensor, it can only do 12 stops and blah, 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 and noise and all the stuff with that shadow.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
So they fed it through the ImaTest thing that they do where they shoot the thing and they stick it in the thing. And I'm not explaining that at all. They had like the light board that has graduated different stops of light and they take a picture of it.
Just go watch a Gerald Undone video.
Yeah, sure. You know what? Watch a Gerald Undone video. You'll figure it out. Anyway, they're saying that this thing is like 14-ish stops, like 14.4 or something of readable, and then of like the signal noise ratio too that's like usable dynamic range with decent noise is 12.4, and that's fine.
Yeah, those are acceptable numbers. They're not great numbers.
Yeah, it's just right up the middle. Like it's totally acceptable. And an XH2S, I think, reads out at like 14.1 or 14.2 total, and then you get like 13 stops, or it's with like a minor amount of noise reduction. It's just incredibly good. So, and that's just maybe like the way the test results work, but like this isn't any better than an XH2S.
It just seems like, and this camera is 3 times the cost of an XH2S.
Yeah, and it's medium form, quote unquote medium format.
It just seems like if your main purpose is video, you should not buy the camera.
No, it's not a video camera. Like it can do the video stuff, but I don't know why they're pushing it as a video camera.
It was kind of weird. I mean, even when it was announced, even before we knew all these trade-offs, it seemed like they were really trying to shoehorn that stuff in. And it went beyond what like Leica does sometimes, where they say like, oh, you can shoot video on this, because I mean, they had all these new features they had developed, like the waveform and all that are video centric features. And that all that effort feels misdirected.
Right. Yeah. It's Leica. Why are we shooting video on it?
Yeah.
Like, but it's kind of the same thing here. I mean, I get that Fuji probably feels a lot of pressure from the full frame market in their medium format cameras, because they want it to be the next step up. Like, oh man, I like shooting full frame. Cool. What's next for me? What's my upgrade path? Well, I'm going to go medium format. So you got Fujifilm, Hasselblad, and like, you're probably going to go with Fujifilm because it's maybe a little cheaper, and they have really good like film simulations and image quality and all this stuff. Like, it's a great camera. But I feel like the full frame market is getting, I think, too good, and Fujifilm isn't staying that far ahead of them, because it's not really medium format. I mean, like, it's medium format, but if you're talking about film, if you were shooting, full frame, and then you went to medium format, you went from a 35 millimeter to like a 6x7 or 645. That was appreciably different.
Yeah, it's a big upgrade.
Like, the image quality and the grain and the look you get out of like 645 or 6.7 compared to 35 millimeter is hugely noticeable. It's way better. And we don't really see that in digital as much, because these quote unquote medium format sensors, like, they're bigger than full frame, but they're effectively like a 0.71 crop.
Yeah.
You're getting a third stop more light and more noise performance.
Yeah, it's just not much.
Yeah, it's the difference between shooting like ISO 320 and ISO 400.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the current Sony watermark is 63 megapixels?
Yeah, I think that's right.
We're so close to a 90, 100 megapixel full frame sensor that it's like, what are we getting for medium format anymore?
I mean, it seems to me like probably there's not as much development on medium format sensors.
Yeah.
There's been so much focus on full frame size because that market is so huge that I think it's just caught up past
Definitely.
where medium format is.
Yeah, I mean, Sony's making the sensors. They don't have a medium format camera.
Yeah.
It feels like they're less incentivized. Sure that, Hasselblad and Fujifilm are going to buy their sensors from Sony and this sort of thing, and like, they have a market share there.
They're not incentivized to really push the envelope on that.
No. They're relying on these companies to maybe like create designs and coordinate with their manufacturing and that sort of thing. And I don't know. It's just, it feels like poor Fujifilm is like found themselves on both sides of the full frame market on purpose.
Yeah.
Because they can compete and succeed there. And they really do have the best full frame camera and the best APS-C camera.
You mean
mostly
the best medium format camera and the best APS-C camera.
Thank you. Yeah, like roughly. They're very competitive in those markets.
Yeah. They don't have a lot of competition in medium format.
Exactly.
So,
well, like, and that's why.
So that seems like it would make sense, but only if they can push that technology forward enough to actually make it worth buying.
Yeah, it feels like most people are just going to go back down to full frame or back up to full frame because they feel like maybe there's more promise there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think we've kind of felt that way at times, certain video features. It's,
sure.
It's like, or you mentioned shooting photos, in a dark environment, a week or two ago. And it's like,
yeah,
that's where full frame kind of makes sense. And,
right.
it's concerning that.
Yeah. Something like a dance or a wedding or that sort of thing. Like, if you're shooting portraits or you have more still subject, you're going to get these amazing detail out of a medium format camera. But realistically, you want the fast shooting speed and the autofocus and the low light capability of a full frame sensor and a full frame camera.
Yeah.
And that's just going to be the better compromise because the medium format doesn't have the same level of development.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting how that's all ended up.
It really is. And so the last bit on this, they do a latitude test where they shoot something at middle gray and then they push it up and push it down to see like how much flexibility there is.
So if you expose poorly, how much can you recover?
Mm-hmm. Yep. And it looks like there's about 7 stops of latitude on the GFX.
So how does that compare to other
So
cameras?
like most full frame cameras are about 8 stops of latitude. The XH2S has about 9 because it's just super duper good. And then something like, an Arri might have like 10 or 11 stops of latitude, like high-end cinema cameras.
So yet another area where this is just not really measuring up.
No, it's not. Like it's not better in dynamic range than full frame. It's not better in latitude for those codecs. It's not better in rolling shutter. Like all you're getting is like the high megapixel is hurting you for video. You don't need 100 megapixels for video.
Right.
It's ridiculous.
Right.
And then like you have maybe a little better noise performance.
Yeah.
And like otherwise like just shoot on something else. Like save the money and buy an FX3, right? It's just going to be 10 times better for video.
So it's like, I think we would have assumed this whenever we saw the camera. I think we were a little skeptical of its video chops, but now that the test results are out, it seems more clear than ever that you should not buy the GFX100 Mark II for video.
Yeah, it's just not for it.
Yeah.
It's really cool for super high resolution, super good detail, mostly not moving images.
Yeah.
You could probably shoot some moving stuff, but not a ton.
Yeah.
Yeah. They also have the iPhone 15 Pro Max IMA test information out. I definitely looked at that too.
Oh yeah. Was it better than the GFX?
No, it was not better than GFX. It was the latitude on their test was like 3 stops. It was not good.
Yeah.
And they, even in like the DaVinci Resolve app, Apple does so much noise reduction that you can't turn off.
Yeah.
It's like the image test just reads the same stops. It was like 12.1 all the way down because there was no noise. And they pulled up the graph like in Resolve of the shot of the Xyla chart thing, and it's like usually the very bottom where all the noise floor is, there's a little bit of width there as far as the noise and all the stuff that's happening. It's like a flat straight line.
All that computational photography.
Yeah, man, it's just there's so much happening on the iPhone.
Yeah.
Zero noise.
I would imagine most smartphones are going to be like that.
Yeah, almost certainly. Yeah, they're all going to be basically like that, or maybe worse.
Yeah.
They're going to do some sort of like tonal shifting or something, or
Yeah,
HDRing or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, somehow we still ended up talking about Apple products.
Dang it! I'm not an Apple guy. I'm going to have a lot of Apple stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. You're not an Apple guy. You're just sitting there power using your iPad and sitting there with your iPhone.
Hey, I just, you buy the things you buy. I still feel like I'm an Android user at heart. And I switched to Mac to get to Final Cut. Now I don't even use Final Cut anymore.
Yep. And yet even after you'd switched away from Final Cut, you bought a new Mac.
I have a Windows laptop for work that does
and it's garbage.
It has as much juice as far as processing power. It's like an H series, Intel 11 whatever processor, and it can compete with a M1 Max as far as processing performance and multi-core.
Yeah, it just sounds like a jet engine.
Oh my gosh! You open up
Microsoft Teams.
Sure, Microsoft Teams, and it just takes off. It's ridiculous.
Yep.
And then it lasts 90 minutes at most on battery when you have email and Teams open. Boy, hope you're not doing that for more than 90 minutes.
Yep.
It's ridiculous.
And the reason you want it to be summer is because that computer also gets so hot during that time that, it's just wearing you down.
Yeah, I mean, it's great in winter because I don't have to heat the house. No, it's that's why I have a Mac. It'll last freaking 10 hours on a charge. I can edit for whatever 3 or 4 hours and still have 30% battery left. It's ridiculous.
It's just the best.
I know. It's just I'm just buying what works best for me right now. And if that was a Windows laptop, I would put Linux on it.
That's it for the show today. Thanks for joining us, and if you liked it, tell a friend so they can check it out too. You can find out more about the show at www.cameragearpodcast.com, and you can find us on Twitter @CameraGearPod. We'll be back with more next week.